Cedric, first things first. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Glad the universe working with me.
That's very good to hear. And then you have a lot of things to be happy about, I suppose. But before we delve into the new album, I'd like to jump back just quickly to Benton County Relic, which was the first album you kind of released under your own name. Was that important for you to have that first offering under your own name?
Oh, wow, man. It really was. It meant so much to me. To actually, I to explain this, I have to go from the beginning.
Mm.
So me playing drums all my life. I always wrote music in my head and with the drums, and I heard the music in my head and I had to sound it out to people. But no matter how I sounded out, they would get close, but they could never get to where what I had in my head. So yeah, I was so glad to learn how to play the guitar and write songs and better myself on it. And with Ben County Relic, it was kind of a way of me of showing me,
Mm.
what you hear is what you're gonna get. Um, so I can finally play the music that was in my head. And Ben County Relic was a start of me starting to find myself, and I was so happy to put it out there.
Right. I read somewhere that you wrote your first song when you were about 12. Do you remember
I did,
that song?
yeah. I remember most of all the lyrics, and I forget the changes on the song, but I can come back up with all the music. But yeah, my first song when I was 12.
Because if we go back to that time, what was music for you? Because obviously it's been part of your family and then part of where you grew up. But especially for you at that young of an age, what was music for you, and what did you get out of it?
Man, that's a great question. For me, man, I being so young at the time, I, all I know is I loved it. That's the all I know is I love the music. And even before I started playing music, listening at my, Big Daddy and my dad and uncles and them play house parties and stuff, you know, um, I loved it then. I was 6, 7 years old. And I knew right then, this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. I knew that. After I started doing it, 12, 13 years old, it became something that I just, knew I was going to do. And I didn't really think about it.
I have this very quick question in between, because I was watching one of the recordings of your grandfather, which was recorded
Yeah.
in 1987, which I believe is when you were born. And there's a child you can hear in the background. Now, is
No,
that you?
I was born in 78.
78.
And
Sorry, yeah.
yeah, 1978. Yeah, that's exact. That was me. I
Okay,
was 3 days old.
okay.
Yep, 3 days old.
So having music be such a integral part of your upbringing, um, was it weird to make it kind of your profession in a way?
Uh, Depending on what you call weird. There was a lot of weird moments. But I don't think music, you know, I don't think me playing music, was weird to me because I always knew that I would probably make money somehow playing music.
Mm.
I did not know that music would take me as far as it has. Um, I am grateful. I always played music. A gig here may pay me $75. A gig here may pay me $100 when I was about 14, 15 years old. So I always made money playing music because that's what I knew. You know,
Mm.
but it has taken me, pretty far. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I didn't quit. I'm grateful that I stuck with it, and had great people like my Big Daddy to kind of guide me along the way, Junior Kimbrough and those cats,
Is there one piece of advice from your grandfather that you can share with us?
Oh man, so many. I remember him always telling me that to treat people like you always want to be treated. And he had this one saying when people get the big head, and he say, "You think you're a big shot, you really just a shell that been shot." And so I always try to remember that, man. Don't get the big head, because as soon as you think you're a big shot, you become a shell that's been shot.
Right. Well, that's some good advice, I would say.
Oh yeah.
And throughout the years, how have you, because like you mentioned on Benton County Relic, that's when you kind of were able to put what was in your mind out into the world.
Yeah.
So how do you see that development from starting out as a drummer at age 13 or even earlier probably, and kind of developing that voice that you have and kind of as you are now, where you're singing as well? And now, how did that development go? Was that natural?
Oh. Well, I always tried to sing. That's why I wrote my first song at age 12. I'm not gonna say it was always good, because I'm sure it wasn't. But like I said, I just never quit, and I didn't know that my voice would develop. Nor did I care. I just know I cared to just play the music. I just loved music, and I think even if I didn't have a good voice, even if I couldn't play the guitar great, or none of those things, I would still be somewhere making music, whether that's in my front room, because that's how much I love it. I'm just grateful that the universe is working with me, and thank the good Lord for great things.
So with that in mind, then this new record I'd be trying. What was your mindset going into it and writing these songs for it? Did you have kind of an idea of what you wanted the story to be, so to say?
Kind of, sort of. Most of my music, well, just about everything I write, man, I either done been through it, or my family done been through it, or a friend done been through it. I try to stay true to myself, and even if that means disappointing people, or some things I might have done in the past that they might have don't like, and I have, but and also people that have wronged me, I write a lot about that, and people get wronged all the time, and that's just life. It's everyday life, and I really don't really think about a whole lot of the what you say backlash or of the the idea. I just love to put out honest music, and the universe been working with me, and I think the Lord, that people can relate to some of the things that I write, and so if they can relate to it, that let me know they done been there a time or two, maybe
Right.
even there at the moment, so that's where I was trying to come from when I wrote "I'll Be Trying." It's a lot of hardship in there, and I wrote one song during the pandemic, and that was "Love Is the Key." I wrote it the second day of recording, early that morning, and I come in and I kind of found some music to it by listening at some of my inspirations, Junior Kimbrough, my Big Daddy, and so I found some grooves to it, and I wrote it, that second day, and the reason I wrote that song is, we in the midst of chaos right now, the whole world, and people talk about love all the time, but they never try to implement love. So we don't implement it as much as we should. As much as we talk about it, we don't implement it. And so that's kind of a song that, include myself. I try my best to implement love more and more every day. So COVID taught me a lesson. I'll say that.
This perseverance or this kind of optimism about the world, to not become bitter, to not start pointing fingers, all that stuff. What do you attribute that to? Because I do know you're a religious man, but is that where it kind of comes from?
Well, I wouldn't even say I'm religious.
Okay.
I do believe in Jesus Christ, but I don't really care if you're Buddhist or if you believe in Allah. I can care less. All I care about is if you're a good person, you have a good heart. That's what matters. But you can say that it did come from that. It come from me wanting to do the right thing, but not always doing the right thing. And I'm sure a lot of people done been there.
Sure.
And I implement that in my music. Just like I said earlier, it might be songs that I write that people be like, wow, I didn't know he was that type of person, but it happened, and I was at one point of time. Yeah, I think people are gonna look at hear this music and well, at least I pray and hope that they hear this music and be inspired by it.
Is there one thing you can share? And then you've had some rough years in the past decade. So can you share something that you had to overcome? And does music help you with those things?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Yeah, a lot of tragic done happened in my life, along with the good. My mom passed. First, my brother passed 2012. My dad passed 2015. My uncle 2015. My mom 2017. And you never lose track of that type of stuff. But I feel like I grown, from tragic to getting in a I'm trying to find the right words. Getting in a state of mind of knowing that life happens, all why it hurts your heart and just can't, you ball up in your stomach, but all while you're doing that, you have to know somewhere in your mind, you have to know that you got to keep going. Right. And so that's what I do. I dig deep and I know that I got to keep going no matter what, and so I guess over the years of me digging deep and learning how to get through tragic times, it put me in a place where, I feel sorrow and all of that, but you just take it one day at a time, and if you get knocked down, just get yourself back up and dust yourself off and try it again. That's what life is all about.
Right. And then, for instance, because I can imagine the world can be so cold, it could be kind of derived from that what you just mentioned. So
Hell yeah.
what role does music play in this process? What does it give you a certain sense of solace or I don't know if redemption is the right word, probably not, but does it give you does kind of the process of making music, does that kind of help you along the way?
Yeah, it does. I have to say, man, sometimes I can't, you might be hard to believe, but sometimes it's hard for me to put things in words, talking, and so it's easier for me to write it through my music, and I found out that sometimes people understand me a little bit more better through my music, if that makes any sense.
Sure. For you, how important is it to carry on this tradition that you're grandfather sort of started. Is it important to, especially kind of the area where you're from and the music that is derived from there? Is it important for you that stays around?
Oh yeah, of course. Um, but I have to say I'm not trying to fill in the shoes or anything or anything like that. I am grateful and love what my big daddy, left behind, and I'm so glad that he opened the door for the Burnside family, as well as other great musicians who love this style of music, hill country blues. But yeah, it's a part of who I am, and I wouldn't stop playing it for the world, man. I'm gonna play it until I leave this world. It's what I love, and if I can show it to my my girls, my daughters, and my nieces and nephews, to keep the legacy alive. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep pushing it in there.
Right. Well, then very quickly then, what do you do your daughters think of the music that you make?
Oh wow, they love it, man. All of them love music, but I think my youngest daughter, she loved it the strongest. She was able to do a song with me on this album that's about to come out. I'll be trying, Cedric Burnside, and I have to say I was a proud pop, that she wanted to take the time out and just was willing to do it, so I'm glad of that, and everything she want to learn, I'm gonna give it to her as much as she wants.
Right. And one thing I found very interesting when I did my research about you and the music is when success was brought up, because you started talking about it not in monetary terms, but in terms of kind of what we've just talked about, kind of legacy and passing things on. So how do you see success? And for you, when would I be trying be a success for you?
Oh wow. I have to say that's one of the best questions I have heard, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a good question, man. You always trying, that's where that song come from. That just trying real hard inspired that song for me. And so I really don't know. I don't know when would I be trying to be a success. Because you're always trying. I would say that I'm further along now than I have ever been. Living a little bit better than I have ever been. And to me that right there is, that's pretty dang good.
Fair enough.
Anything else extra is just icing on the cake.
Well, finally then, because now that the world is starting to open up again, and I suppose you get the chance, hopefully, to share your music in person as well with a lot of people around the world. What is that an important aspect for you? Because you did play a lot around the world.
Oh yeah, that's a big part of what made me who I am today. It's being able to travel and take my music to people who love it, and who want the groove, make me feel juke jointed. I grew up in the juke joints, and I'm so used to seeing people dance and stomp the dust out of concrete, and so to go around the world and see people dance and grooving to that music, it means a lot to me. So yeah, I missed it. I have to say I needed some time off. I got the time off, and now I miss getting out there and making people feel good with the music.
Sure. Well, one last question then, because it just popped into my head. When you started touring with your grandfather and that live scene, how did you perceive it? Was it a kind of immediate click, like this is what I want to do?
Oh yeah, man. By far, like I said earlier, when I was 6, 7 years old, watching my big daddy and my uncles and my dad play the house parties, I knew then this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I knew then. But as I got older, and got more used to going out on the road, I knew that this was my thing. I'm gonna be doing this.
What were those early gigs like as a youngster? Was it a kind of a shock to the system in a way that you started to take part in this adult world almost because you are playing bars and all that type of stuff?
Oh yeah, man. It was a more shock to my mom,
Fair enough.
even though going out on the road with my big daddy, which is her dad, she still, really was worried that, I would get into something that my big daddy might not know about, and she was right, I was young and I was, interested and everything was just so interesting and so cool and so adrenaline pumping all at the same time. I was a young teenager and I was ready to see things and I did see things. I didn't learn a whole lot. I didn't learn everything I probably should have learned in school because I was on the road so much. But I still feel like I learned a whole lot that a lot of kids my age really don't know a whole lot about today, So I am very grateful, and I wouldn't change anything for the world about the life that I have lived and how I got there, to this point,
Well, let's hope that you get to continue this life and play your music for a long time then. Cedric, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Really glad to do it.